Okay, so we look at the JSON post to do the history. Okay, let me see if I can show you this part. I assume you can see my screen now. Okay, so the way I handle it, let me just show you how I did this part. Okay, this is just like history is still an array, okay, right? So this is my version of JSON post.cpp. So this first part is just checking, right? Whether you have this history session at all. And the other thing which I do is when I realize my C++ pointer, because this is JSON to post, is try to convert it JSON string to a C++ object, so it will check just like everything else. I'm actually checking whether this pointer is available. If it's not available, I would just create it. Remember, history is a vector of transaction pointer. Okay, so now I'm actually going through. So this part of the code is a loop through that. Okay, just similar to others, I'm basically just converted to the JSON. Okay, and what I did a little bit different here is I actually use I use this part. This is instead of creating a transaction object, I use this what I call JSON transaction comment. It's essentially fit in that transaction JSON, the history JSON individual of them, and go into this JSON transaction comment. So now I'm going there to show you what it looks like. Sorry, I heard something, but I cannot clearly hear what you said. Did somebody ask a question or make a comment? Okay, it's probably somebody forgot to unmute the mic. Okay, if you have any question, please feel free to interrupt me. Okay, so this is my JSON transaction comment. All right, so the way you can see what I did is first, when you have a JSON coming in, I'm now really processing this transaction or processing this particular record for history. So this is what I'm checking. First, I want to check whether this has both avatar name or VSID. Remember, I just separate this into a different function. So I always check whether this avatar name is null, whether it's a string, whether the string size is greater than 0, okay? And I did the similar thing for VSID. So once this check, I know this transaction at least has a avatar name and VSID. Now I actually create a transaction pointer, okay? And also because transaction has a person, has an agent, so that's why I now create a person object, which was this two variable I already checked, it should work, right? So now at this point, when the code moved to here, I have a transaction object already created. I already set the agent part of the value. So now I'm actually checking for location. So this part is my code for the location part. Okay, the location part basically is just checking whether it's the same thing. I did a lot of check this way. I check whether location is null or not. If it's not null, don't worry, don't bother. This history doesn't have a GPS location. And I check whether latitude is there, whether longitude is there, and I check whether latitude is a double and longitude is double. So I actually did this check, make sure that you have a location, and the content of that location indeed has the right format. So if you have those, then I just create a GPS DD object, which is a GPS constructor, and then just put that GPS pointer into the transaction where. So I handle agent, then I handle where. And then similar, I have to do the networking. So you can see that it's tedious, just handle session of information by information. And I look for networks. And then I look for networks IPv4, which is null, whether it's a string, whether it's greater than 0. If all this condition is true, I'm actually just create a new IP address and using the constructor with this string. This might be a little bit tricky. So you can actually just look at the recording about how I actually set it up. Okay, I'm using this function called inet address, which has, I put this huge string into that, the C string. It will automatically generate that nice 169.237, whatever string. And after you've done this, then I have this IP pointer I put in here. And then finally, I have this created time, because it should have a created time. And then again, I check is null, is string, as string dot size is greater than 0. If that's the case, then I just process this using this JV time constructor and then put it there. So the whole session about transaction, JSON transaction comment is just input one history record. And then I use each of the session doing all the check and fill it in. And at the end, it will return a valid transaction pointer, which now I go back to where I have that history. What's my history? Okay, so now you see what this, this JSON transaction comment is doing. So it has all the elements. And I want to check whether, okay, there are further thing more I want to check. I want to check whether this transaction is already, sorry, not this historical records already exist, because if you have the same record, they're the same, then it doesn't matter. So that's why I actually iterate. So this is an iterator through the existing transaction history and see if this one is actually equal to any of this transaction that already exists. If it's already exists, then I basically, I will not put that into, you see, I didn't push back to the history until I check everything that the flag history is equal to 0. Okay, so this part is just cleaned up. Okay, this part just cleaned up. If you're developing client, let me tell you that this part is probably not that important. But I'm doing the server, so I have to be very careful about the memory. So I just check whether, because if this one is already there, then I just freed up all the pointer I just created, and then just move on. Okay, I delete that transaction pointer I just have, and just move on. Okay, so that's how I handle the historical record. Is that somewhat answer your question, KK? Are you still there? No, I think.
Professor Wu, if I could ask a question
of course,
about this.
Of course, go ahead.
So could you go back to the IP address section?
Sure.
So I was having trouble creating a new IP address object. So what I did was I changed the IP address object to take in a string instead of an unsigned integer. Is that all right?
That should be okay. That should be okay.
Okay.
As long as it works, it's fine.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, but I just want to tell you that this is a good way, a possible way that you do that. If you use inet address, which is supposed to convert the C string into a integer format using inet address, if you couldn't get it to work, maybe I can help you to get it to work. For example, you forgot to include a file or something like that. Okay, inet address is a useful tool for you to learn. Okay, but for homework 7, don't worry, if you get it to work, that's fine. Okay.
Okay, and so JSON transaction comment is mainly for the server side. It's not necessarily something we need to use on the client side because I did it without this additional method.
No, you don't have to have this method, but how do I say that? This code might be useful for the client side. Might be useful for the client side for the following reason is that because you're going to you're going to submit a post, but you want to append your own historical record, right, to that existing object. So how you're going to do that? I mean, you can actually manually just add it to that historical record into that. That's perfectly okay. If you manually do that and then you try to update the server, then you don't need this checking. I'm doing that right now, but you're responsible to make sure that the format is correct, and also you're responsible to just check whether you have any duplicate record. Because when you have a duplicate record, the server will not count that as one of the 20. So if you can make sure that those things are take care correctly, then you don't need to use you don't need to do the checking I'm talking about. The reason you need this piece of code, the reason you need JSON underscore post.cpp's work is just help you to automatically to merge a history into a post that without that history. Is that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. KK, is this okay with? Let me see if you respond. Okay, good. Thank you, KK. So the second question I think is Jenny. You're asking the redefinition of a class transaction. Okay, I think I can guess what that question might be. So let me actually. this is an interesting part because all the C++ programmer somehow need to deal with this problem. And then how do we deal with this problem is a small trick. I want to tell you that. Okay, so let me actually first go to transaction.cpp. Not transaction.cpp, transaction.h. Okay, so let's take a look at this code. Okay, this code is transaction.h. Basically, it has all this variable and that's defined. And let me see why. So you have this transaction. Okay, so let me actually take a look at the other piece of code, which is post.h. Let me see. Hold on. Let me grab transaction. Post.h. Wait a minute. How can this be? Okay, Jenny, are you Jenny Wang? Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah. So, can you tell me which file that you try to compile is telling you that you have redeclaration of a transaction?
The error message is in file included from post.cpp, and then it refers to my include of transaction.h.
Okay. So in your transaction.h, let me just double check. Did you actually using this statement to make sure that this file got included only once?
No.
Okay, that might be a problem because if you add this statement,
Mm-hmm.
if not defined, and then this to statement, and then remember at the end of the file, you need to have this statement to close it.
Okay. What do these statements mean?
This statement means that it makes sure that this file will only be included once. the way it works, you can see that when the compiler, you can imagine that .h file try to include the other .h file, right? Right now, like for example, here I already include core.h. So if this is the first time you ever include this file, if this first time you include this file, then basically when you go through if not defined, this is if end def. So it's if not defined this particular string, which means that if this is already defined, then you will skip the rest of the statement until you hit end if, okay? So this is like a block of code that's actually protected by if not defined. So what I'm saying here is that the first time you visit this code by compiler, I'm talking about a compiler phase, not linking phase. Compiler, because it's handling all this include. In fact, this is actually taken care by preprocessor. So the first time it hit this statement, it will ask you the rest of the code, but it also asks you this statement define. So it means that the second time you visit the same file, that it will check if not defined, it will say, no, it's already defined. It's defined by this. So this is a trick to make sure that all the code within this if not defined, define, and end if statement, it will only be included once. Because the second time when you go to this file, say, let me use an example. Post.h might include transaction.h. And also, maybe there is another file. I'll just randomly say HW7 server also include this file. So if you compile the program, you might actually, without this guarding, you might actually include this part twice. From the compiler's perspective, oh, you have two definition, because compiler doesn't know whether this is the same file or not. They just see that, oh, you have a two declaration of a class transaction, and then they will throw the error that you have. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah, sounds
Okay.
perfect. Thank
Okay.
you.
The related question I do want to say is a bit tricky, is when I have another thing called, let me actually tell you, this part is quite tricky. I thought initially you were dealing with this problem. But if you look at the post.h, the post.h actually, it's a recursive. Let me actually tell you that this is interesting. I don't know if many of you actually realize there is an issue about a potentially mutual reference to each other. So you can see that I have here that I have an O key. So under my post definition, I actually need a definition of O key because I have a vector of O key pointer. So which means that I have to declare O key first, but in O key, I actually need to include post. So which means that I have O key and post, they actually refer to each other. So the question is who I need to declare first. So the trick to avoid any kind of issue is that I kind of have a declaration, but without a true declaration. That's why you see that before the true definition of O key, I actually declare, I tell compiler, hey, there is a class called post. I declare somewhere else, but you will see that. Okay, don't worry about that. And I just declare it here, class post. And then here before class post, I have this, I say, hey, there is a declaration, there is a class called O key. I would declare somewhere else, but just let you know, okay? But this way, the compiler will be able to go through this code and try to settle everything. But there is a requirement for this to work, is that you cannot refer to the content of the class you declare this way, but you can only declare it as a pointer. So that's why it's okay if I do this way. I can actually have a post pointer. I declare post pointer. If I change this post to without pointer, the compiler will throw me error. Okay, let me just show you what will looks like. So this is the code. if I make a clean, I compile, everything works fine. Okay, so now I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to modify post. I'm going to change this instead of pointer, the O key, I'm going to remove this star. Okay, I better actually. I better keep my original one, otherwise this could be another big bug I have to dig out. So if I do this, now you see I removed that pointer. So now what I did is I'm going to make post.o. I don't want to compile other code, because if I compile other code, I might be have a lot of trouble. But now I just compile post.o. You see that? It's basically say, in member, it says that whenever I want to do anything to do with key, you cannot do that. Okay. In fact, this is actually a different issue though. Yeah, because it's actually looking at the pointer format, because now I'm not using pointer format. Okay, so just let you know that you have to be careful about certain things you're working on. Okay, I better change it back. Okay, let me get to the next question. I don't need this. Okay. I think the next question is Manuel's question. Manuel, where's your question? Let me see. Okay, HW7 validate. What's the difference between HW7 update? Okay. Okay, let me explain to you. Oh, I cannot do this. I'll use my slide. Excuse me.
So for homework 7 validate, I get that that's what we would use to upload a post to the server that we think meets all the requirements or has like all the people or histories on it.
No, that's validate. That's not update.
Validate, yeah. So that's what validate does. It sounds like pretty similar to update, but how does the server know like the difference that this one wants to be validated besides this one wants to be like updated?
Well, you use a different function call. So because RPC have a 3 function, right? When the update, the server knows an update call, and validate is a validate call. So I think the main difference is that update will trigger a lot of things, which validate will not. So when you do an update, this update essentially changed the state of the server. So for example, you have a new update coming in. I'm going to merge your JSON with other posts already exist. So update has three cases. Remember, I said case 1, case 2, case 3, and update is more complicated. Therefore, it will save a file. It will actually update the O key value, and those kind of thing is going to happen when you do an update. And validate is a lot simpler. Validate is just coming in, and I just look at whatever you submit and whether see if the JSON itself fulfill the condition. And validate does not actually save a copy of your JSON on the server side. but it will perform some check. And one of the things I just implemented this morning is that if you actually send the validate without the enough number of history record, the server will tell you what is the server's copy, how many records I already have. So that is the validate is doing. So validate is more like you just do a check and try to get a signature. While update, you're really changing the server so everybody can see it. Does that make sense, Manuel? It doesn't have a lot of good reason say why you cannot combine update and validate, but it was just the design of the interface that I have the 3 different calls.
Professor?
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Jerry, go ahead.
Yeah. I think the validate function in your server, I think it's weird because my friend tried his post, which contains at least like 3 or 4 history record, and he tried to validate that. It returned him current history size equal to 1.
That could be possible. That could be possible in the sense that that function is number one. That function is just implemented. I haven't tested enough of the cases. It might not report the right number. That's number one. Thank you for telling me that. But the other reason is also when you have a record of 3 or 4, have you update that to the server as well?
Yeah, I mean, because I searched his post, which contains like 3 or 4 history, which means that it's stored in the server, right?
Yeah, yeah, Jerry, that sounds to me as a bug on the new feature. Yeah.
And also the server is down, by the way.
No, I'm testing something. That's why I bring it down.
Oh, okay.
I'm actually looking. I can. No problem. It's my fault. Some of the students actually suggest very good suggestion, telling me that I should just have a 2 server, which I think is a great idea. One server is actually more of a testing purpose. One is more operational. And the reason is that I have the latest one. I'm handling one of the search feature. I've actually drilled down some of this you can see here. I hope to get that done as soon as possible so I can bring the server back up. Yeah, I mean, just to let you know, I have been testing a lot on the update yesterday. I think update now, I think it's reasonably strong unless there's somebody tried to hammer it with a lot of strange things, which I have seen that happen. But I get search to work right now. The search right now is getting, yesterday during the office hour when people was talking about search, and then I checked last night and this morning, I realized that there was a lot of issue with search. So I think I cleaned up most of them, but still there are some issue I need to take care of. Okay, and then I will bring back as soon as possible. Sorry about that. Okay, let me actually check my next question. Manuel, did I answer your question?
Yeah, and then, but you said we use a different, so we have a file named ECS36B homework7.json. And then there's like an update, a validate, and then a search.
Yes,
So
we do.
for homework 7 update.cpp, the difference between that and the search, I mean, the update and the validate is like that name, like keyword, not keyword, but the name value.
Yeah, I mean the in terms of the interface to the server, update and validate are very similar. They both submit a JSON, a post JSON. But the interface to search is different because search is just enter the keyword.
Okay.
Is it? Yeah, the interface is the same, but it's a 2 separate implementation. Excuse me. Let me check the next one. Yeah, I mean, if you I think this is Naaman. If you see that the small program it says all done, that means you're done. You're no longer. But if you want to validate, you can always contact me with your VSID number. I can double check for you.
Okay. Should I email you about that if I
Yeah,
want to validate?
email me will be great. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Professor.
Should I do it after the office hour?
Yeah, you can do it now actually, but I probably won't be able to check very much until but the email I will answer eventually. Not I hopefully I will be able to get through all the email today and Facebook message. Okay.
Okay.
let
And
me
I had
see.
one quick
Go ahead.
question. Homework 7 is due on Monday, right?
Yes, Monday,
Monday, 11:59 p.m.
11:59. Yeah. Yeah,
And
I'm
small program
actually
is due today.
small program is due today. Technically, if you get it done by Monday, it's okay. Because I won't be able to pull in all the grade until Tuesday. Okay. But don't wait until Monday.
Okay.
Monday will be extremely crazy. I'm very carefully watching all the transactions. I want to make sure that there's can minimize the glitches. Okay.
And I'll email you about the small program to validate my output. So please check that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Professor,
Thank
I
you.
had a quick question just right before Naaman's. For submitting late homework, do we just send the file, the .cpps to our TA or?
Which homework? Homework 7?
No. Homework 6 and homework 5, like the ones before the final.
Okay. Yeah, you send it to the TA and CC to me. So
Okay,
so we
sounds
have
good.
a copy. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. And is it like the same requested files from the assignment?
Yeah, right.
Okay,
That's
cool.
correct. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
When we submit late homework, do we email it to you and then attach it?
Yeah, I think you can still use hand-in, but using email is always a better way for us to know that this is coming in, because we don't have to go to the hand-in directory to see there is any new timestamp coming in. And also the other reason I want you to do email. Oh, by the way, sorry, I took it back. For those of you who heard me saying that hand-in, don't hand-in, because I know why I want you to email to me. And the TA is because you might already done something that's actually you can get one portion of your homework already before the deadline. So when we actually apply, if we're going to apply the late penalty to the extra homework, that will only apply to the difference. So I want to keep the original copy there. So we will be able to handle that.
Okay, so don't hand in and just email you.
Yeah, don't hand in, just email.
Okay.
I just realized, I'm sorry, I forgot why I said email initially, because I want to keep the original one. I mean, of course, I can just ask the TA to help me to just preserve a copy of everything. So in case you hand in that, we still have an original record. All right, so let me take a look. Is that any question from? Sorry, I guess that was Ali. Is that answering
that
your
was all.
question, Ali and Alexandra? Okay, let me.
Yeah. All right, thanks.
You're welcome. Let me see. So we, as you know, we don't have a final exam. So homework 7 is our final. Okay.
Yeah, Professor, I meant like the homework 7. So we're gonna have another homework 7 if we take it as incomplete, right?
Yes, that's right. That's right. For those people who do incomplete, for those people who take an incomplete, you can still working on homework 7. As I said, that the programming requirement for homework 7 is not that much. You can still participate. You can still your VSID could still be there, right? I mean, for example, you could have already A of the posts already get done by the end of this quarter, and just keep it there, and you can use it. And maybe you already finished. So all the people taking incomplete, you can still participate the final exam here as well, because this one is collaborative. The more people participate, the better. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah,
If we
go ahead.
if we like do a bit of homework 7, would that be counted as our like our incomplete part? Like we have to do an assignment for incomplete, right?
You have to do whatever. So we have 7 homework assignment. So for the incomplete student, you need to submit all of them. I mean, when you're submitting, then I will base on that to give you a grade. But the thing is that right now, if you apply for incomplete, if you actually submit late, there will be some late penalty applied to that. But if any work you submit before the deadline, for example, by the end of this quarter, then you can actually avoid being taken out the penalty there. So does that answer your question?
Wait, can I just confirm? So we have to submit all the assignments again?
No. Only
Incomplete?
submit the. Sorry, I misunderstood you. No, you only submit the homework you haven't done it.
So is it going to be the same homework or is it going to be something else?
It's going to be same homework.
And we get by the end of next spring quarter to submit it?
No. I hope you can get it done by the end of the summer.
Okay.
So
yeah,
there is a time period for the incomplete to turn it into something worse. If I think there are 2 quarters at most. I think 1 quarter is reasonable. But I look at the situation. I feel you guys, if you have time, you should be able to get it done over the summertime. Anything beyond summer, you have to talk to me earlier so we can plan for that. Okay.
Okay, so do we just email it to you once we're done with the homework 7?
Sure. You can
Okay, thank
email
you
me.
so much.
You're welcome. I have a record of every single student who requests for incomplete. So that's why I always say you have to send an email to me to request incomplete. I will send back a confirmation email to say, oh, I have you on record. So if you didn't receive my confirmation email, please make sure you let me know as soon as possible. Okay.
Yeah, Professor, I didn't receive it yet.
But did you send an email to me to do a request? So I whenever people request through Facebook or through other chat, I said please send an email to me, and then I will reply. If I haven't replied to you, please continue to remind me to send that confirmation email. Okay.
Okay, yeah, I'll email you again.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Professor, I had some questions before. Mega, sorry if I'm butchering your name.
Sorry, what was the question? Is that Melissa? You're asking a question?
Sorry, I just wanted to ask them out loud, but for the Validate program, does it also check the timestamp for updated time each time that the post is appended with the new history record as well? Or does it just check the chain of timestamps for the history records?
I have to look at the code, how I actually implement it. Yeah. I have to dig it out and to tell you what, I haven't made several changes. I think right now, if the Validate program tell you that this is a valid, then that should be a good confirmation for you to know that. But whether it checked the timestamp, I have to dig through that. Okay.
Okay, and because the server has been having so many bugs, would it be possible to lower the requirement of history appends to maybe 5
I
or
will.
10?
I will consider that. But right now, the other way is we check for certain thing. I feel that to check things like the timestamp is probably not a big deal, but how do you get more students to work on that? Because technically we just started today. Most people haven't jumped in. So I want to wait at least for a few hours because I'm actually get back to that, and then we can see whether it makes sense to reduce. I have that flexibility to do that. I'm not saying yes or no, but I'm just really want to see. I want to look at the data. I want to see how far we can get things to put together. Okay.
Okay, thank you. And also for validate, you talked about something called checksum. Is that like a function within validate, or is it just a term that you're using to describe the status?
That's the function that's implemented on the server side. The client side
Okay,
doesn't
I
need to
see.
worry about that. Yeah, it's the server side. It generate a checksum and put that into the return JSON to you for you to submit. So I can check whether this submission is really generated by the server, or actually somebody just put a random number there. Then I will be able to know that.
Okay, and for the dump day for history, sorry, did someone want to follow up on that?
Yeah, actually, I kind of wanted to follow up on the previous thing you asked about, Melissa, about lowering the post like history. I know that you were Professor Wu, you were saying that like let's wait a couple hours for Friday night, but I'd also kind of like to raise a point that technically Friday is the end of the quarter, and for me personally, I have been there's sort of been things that I'm doing to prepare for summer session that happens the next week, and sort of like I see an issue that's kind of coming up where there's like almost 3 classes of people that need to finish, like people end of the quarter, people Monday, and people taking the incomplete. And I've sort of thought that maybe like lowering the history count sort of takes into account like all of the different types of people that are like in different places, to sort of like make sure that the people that need to finish earlier can finish, and the people that finish later can still make sure there are people to like comment on their posts.
No, I'm thinking. Okay, I think Anna, you made a good point. Is saying that technically the quarter will end tonight. So I think that was something which I didn't thought about. I might be just probably try to solve the other problem, and which I kind of did it the other way. So I think the best way to compromise at this point is we just, on the other hand, we have to be consistent. We do this to one student, we should be consistent to do this to everybody. I will say that that let me lower that to 5 instead of 20. Lower to 5 for everybody. You just need to submit 10 posts with 5 historical record. Do you think that, I mean, I'm asking everybody, I mean, is this 5 number that from 20 to 5, does that manageable?
Yeah, I think 5 is a lot more doable for a lot of us.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I think that's fine. Let's go to 5 to do that. Um, if you actually get 5 and then you get the things to work, you got the all the credit for your homework 7. That's that's I think that's more consistent and fair to apply to everybody. And still, of course, people can get extra credit for finding out the bug for the server, and that's something which is we have extra credit until Monday evening. That when you submit, okay. For other people, you can still submit 10 posts with 5 by Monday evening, but for those of you who really want to move on to work on something else, and I think you can try to do that by tonight. Is that okay? I haven't heard anybody else. Hold on.
Yeah, that's awesome. I don't think it takes away from like the assignment either, because once you go past 5, you're kind of just trying to have everyone compete to update at the same time, and the server starts to become really slow.
Yeah, I'm just trying to force you to make a 20 friends. Now I force you to make a 5 friends, basically. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Let's do that with 5, and I will change my program to such that it will count it as 5, and then basically I will make an announcement on the Canvas so other people will know, and you should tell your friends as well. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And I'm just wondering, will you be available tonight just in case if the server goes down?
No, I will.
The weekend.
I will be 24/7 on this. Okay, I know. Yeah, I will be 24/7 on this.
Oh, okay. Well,
okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
No. Okay, you're very welcome. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys realize that the final is really for testing me, not testing you guys, because I realize that whenever you create a lot of stuff, you're testing your instructor about how robust the server is. The server has not been robust, so I feel I kind of feel fun to try to deal with that challenge. Okay, let me see if other answers or other questions I need to go through. Well, there's quite a bit of a question here.
Professor, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
When homework 6 was due on Sunday, I submitted it and it didn't pass all the test cases, but I kept working on it and it passes all the test cases now. Is there a way I could resubmit working homework 6
you
program?
can resubmit, but just email it to me. Don't hand in again, okay? Email to me. Thank you.
Professor?
Yes.
Can you just repeat your email ID once?
Let me send it to everybody, okay?
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Did you see that?
Yeah, I got it. Thanks.
All right. You're welcome. Weipen is asking about source IP dumpj. I don't think I have a source IP dumpj actually. Let me take a look at the code. Oh, I think I have a, yeah, I do have the, so the way I do the dumpj, wait a minute. Wait a minute, do I have a dumpj for post.h? Oh, it's on person. Sorry. Person.cpp. So Weipen, this is my code for DUMJ for IP address. That's just using function like INET. So this part of the code may be unfamiliar to you. This is related to socket programming. Is using some kind of structure into the call INET N2A from network address to the address format, the string format. And then after you create that, put that C string into a regular C++ string, and then you basically just insert like this, okay? Is that okay, Weapon?
Yeah, got it. Thank you. Let me
Okay,
try.
you're welcome.
Professor,
Yes, Andrew.
can you go over the client side for the homework 7, please?
The client side? Okay, sure. Um, so I will just present one example, which let me use update. I think update, if you understand update, then everything else should be similar. This is the client side. Okay, the client side, you can neglect that part. I'm just, this part was I wrote some code to check whether somebody actually provide a post that's have a huge amount of the ID string. So I want to actually be able to check on that. Okay, so this is a code for the client side. Of course, number one, I have to open the file. The file I'm going to update. So I read the file just like fopen. And then this part, I actually convert that code, convert that into, sorry, this part. This is just variable declaration. And the first part, this part is just read the file, read the JSON file into my memory, okay? And this part, after this, I actually store the whole JSON string in the memory location called JF1 PTR. Okay, this is a code which you should have seen in different reference implementation. I usually include this piece of code, just reading the file from the file format to the memory format. And then the next few lines is just parsing. You just put that code into a JSON format. So I basically convert the string into this JSON value. So my V message is a JSON value. Okay. All right. So let me actually tell you a little bit about two different ways of doing this. Technically, you don't even need to for the update. You don't even need to actually try to convert that file into a JSON value format, because if that file is already a valid post, you can just directly send it to the server. Because what I did here is that you can see here, I'm actually doing this portion, I'm just converted to the JSON format. And then what I did here is I essentially convert that string into a C++ object. Okay, this part I'm using JSON to post. And then what I did is that at the end, okay, this part is you have to have this line in order to create the JSON RPC, the HTTP client, just like homework 3, you actually need to have this 2 line. And after you've done all this part is the code that I really just call the function, is that I actually call this my update, and then I use this C++ post object and use DUMJ, and then call the toStyle string So this part is just converted back to the string format. So I want to summarize what I did in the client program just very quickly. Number one is to read a file. And number two is that convert that file to JSON value. Okay, and number three is convert the JSON value to the C++ post object. And then number four, I'm actually call update. This is JSON RPC. And then the argument is actually the C++ object, post object, C+ object to the dumpj, which it basically essentially recreate the JSON value. And then I use toStyleString to actually convert it to the string format so I can send it over there. So essentially, the information at the end, it should be equivalent to the file. So essentially, this middle three-step is actually convert the file to JSON, JSON to C++, and then this two-step especially is just to help me to check whether my my JSON file is actually indeed a valid post or not, for me to check myself. But if you know that file is already correct, you can just read the file and directly use it as a string, directly call the update and send it to the other side. There's nothing, you can see that this part, the update is taking this part, is really just a string. It's really just a string. I just use a post pointer to the dumpj to style string. It's a string. If you can get that file and you know it's a valid string, you can actually just send it to update. And it might work, it might not work, but the result JSON that you're going to get it to tell you the error code when you do that. Okay, so that's why it's important for you to print the result JSON to see what the server talks about the JSON you just submit, whether the update failed or successful. You can do the same thing for validate as well. Okay, and the search is a little bit different. Search, the input argument is no longer a post. It's really just a search clause, which I have some example. And the result JSON is actually array of posts that you can get.
And then you return that result JSON at the end, or?
For the client program?
Yeah.
No, you don't need to return because it's a main function. It doesn't do.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, but in the search, you're supposed to save each of the file as a post JSON, and that's for your later use, right? You can use that when you do a search. You got a bunch of JSON. And I'm gonna just tell you one way to do this really, you don't have to do a lot of program, is that when you submit using search, and then you're getting a bunch of post JSON, follow that keyword, and then what you can do is just for all the posts, you can then, you saved it, and then you can actually go there to insert your own historical record, and then you can submit for either update or for validate. Okay.
Okay, and then for Homework 7 client will be similar, or?
Yeah, this is a Homework 7 client. This is a Homework 7 client.
Oh, okay.
I mean, the just like Homework 7 client, Homework 6 client, they're very similar. They're really very similar, but you don't have a validate, and the search is a little bit different. I mean, I should take it back, because Homework 6, that you develop both server and the client. So you follow your own protocol between the server and client. But now with 7, you need to just probably for most of you, the argument as well as the return, they should be similar. but for some of you might change a little bit, so you have to be careful. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Professor,
Yeah, go ahead.
do you mind showing us the implementation for the validate function, just so we know like exactly what requirements we need to satisfy?
Okay, this is my validate, and it's really similar. The first part is almost the same, right? It's just the parameter reading the file. That's I'm going to go through the validation, and then I did the same thing. I convert that to building that to a JSON and convert that to the post, and then call the JSON to post to actually get it back. And then what I did is this part, I just basically do the same thing, right? And then when I come back, I'm going to get the result. And then I just basically see out the result. Because if the result is successful, that is a JSON, that's actually include that checksum value at the end, which I just use output redirection to save it as a file for me to include it in the file. Include it in my handin. But if that is it's not a success, it has some error code, then I will actually be able to see what's wrong with my result. So in some sense, this is really similar to HW7 update from the client perspective.
Do you mind showing us the implementation from the server side? Just so I know like how it works, how it validates it.
Sure, I can. I mean, there are so many places I actually check. Okay, I want to say that I'm not guaranteed that this code will be stayed the same after this meeting, because I'm actually in the middle of changing some of that, but I will show you the best I can. Okay, here is a validate. So things coming in, right? So when you're coming in, of course I did some printing of the log, and then I basically start checking a variety of element. To first, I will check whether this code has some parameter which is out of line I need to throw away. And then I basically do parsing. I basically parse the JSON. So I convert that string into a my V format. So over here, my parse JSON, it doing something which is similar to what client was doing, but I actually provide a lot of check in my parse JSON. If anything goes wrong, I'm going to throw the error code. Okay. Okay. Once it pass all the check, and then the next thing I'm going to do, make sure your ID is correct. Okay. It's always started with ID. And also I check whether the time interval, whether you have done this. By the way, I reduced the interval time a lot less right now, because the server seems to be able to handle that. Okay, and after I check, I actually did, I actually need to do one thing, is I want to check whether this program, this particular file, you already have it on file. So I check whether this file is in memory, it's not in memory. It's not in memory, also not in the file, then I'm going to basically throw another arrow. Okay, so I'm going to check whether you have updated earlier. And this part of the code, I'm actually trying to, because I implement a new function and try to see if you, how do I say that? If your number or record is not up to 20, now change to 5. I'm actually going to try to find out what is the object that their current value is how many. So that's why I'm doing that kind of check. So after we done all this, then I'm really trying to call this. This is really the beginning. I'm start to do validation. Okay, everything before is just checking whether I want to do the check at all. In this part, of course, I converted JSON to post. I convert that to a post object. And then at the end, I'm actually going to check whether this number is smaller than 20. If it's smaller than 20, I will just throw that HW7 arrow less than 20, okay? But in this process, if you pass the test, then what I will do is that I will actually calculate the checksum. Let me see, where do I calculate the check? Oh, here's the checksum. So I actually generate the file, and then I actually compute the checksum. I compute the checksum, and then I put that into the validated, and then I return the whole thing to you. So that's basically the flow of information we're doing. So there is a lot of check before I even start to validate your object. Okay, is that helpful?
Yeah, it is. Thank you. Also for the post, do we need to have like a comment section or reaction section and message, or do we have like flexibility on that?
You have a flexibility. I won't check that
Okay.
part. Yeah.
Okay, so you won't check
part.
message or?
Yeah,
like,
I won't check
okay.
message. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so let me go through the.
Professor, I have a question.
Sure, Nathaniel, go ahead.
So are we going to have to implement homework 7 server ourselves, or is that going to be given to us? Because I thought we were just supposed to do update, search, and validate.
Right. No. You don't do homework 7 server. You don't do that part. In fact, homework 7 you're doing relatively very few lines of code yourself. You're actually essentially doing testing the server, and also try to collaborate with other people. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You don't do the server. Yeah. You don't. You just use the server.
Will you be giving us the server then? Because I don't see like a reference in the files.
No, it's actually in the homework spec. I said, how do you actually get to the port number and IP address for the server?
Is the server just like use homework 6 server and then you replace the port with the one?
Yeah,
that
I essentially it's like that. Yeah, replace the port number, but of course that now we have a more function. We have one extra function called validate, which doesn't have that in search and update. And also we now have history, which your number 6 doesn't have that part.
Wait, so I'm kind of confused. So are we supposed to use homework 6 server and then update it to like
No,
fit?
no, you're not using your own server. And okay, so homework 6, you develop your own server, right? So
yeah.
So you're talking to your own server. That's 6. 7, there is a server running on the Cyrus machine, and you need to use your client program to interact with the server that everybody shares.
Oh, so it won't be interacting with our own server.
No, you don't interact with your own server. You only interact with the only server that the whole class share. So that's why you can actually have the post. Somebody update a new post, you can do a search to grab that post to your local space.
So is the server that we're going to be using the one you just showed, the homework 7 server.cpp?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, okay.
That's right.
Thank you.
And you don't run the server. I run the server. And you can, if you're unfamiliar with that, you can actually take a look. The previous 2 Zoom, I actually show a demo for doing that.
Okay.
Okay.
And I also have another follow-up question. What's the difference? What is it going to be different between update and search from homework 6 and homework 7? Because
I will
don't they
say
do the same
homework.
thing?
I think homework 6 search is the same. Homework 6 and 6, homework 6 search and homework 7 search from the client side should be the same. And homework 6 update, I think is also the same as from the client side perspective, should be the same as homework 7 update.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. Okay. Scott mentioned that I probably forgot a double quote for the template. Okay, thank you. Parker, I don't quite understand your question. What do you mean by handing? Can you elaborate a little bit? Okay, Arnett, I didn't particularly talk about homework 7 search, but homework 7 search from the client program will be, I think it will be exactly the same as homework 6 search. But instead of contact to your own server, you just need to change your HW7 search.cpp such that you will contact the server, the class server to do that.
Does that mean to just enter the IP, the HTTP URL?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's right.
Professor?
Yes.
I wasn't able to get my HW6 search to work, so I was wondering if you could kind of like, if you have any recommendations or suggestions as to how to go about HW6 search so I can implement it for HW7 search.
Okay. So let me actually show very quickly about the code for HW. Let me see. Okay, I can show you a version of the code that's actually not doing exactly we should be doing, but I will explain what's not done for this version. Okay. So I mean, it's a search. It basically just handling the JSON, and it's just reading the file. But here the file is really the search clause, which represent a JSON. Looks like, for example, say something like keyword is equal to say XYZ. Okay, so it looks like something like that is a search clause. So you will read that in from the file, and this part is just standard code. How do you actually read the file? Okay, and then parsing the JSON, and then just basically have this set up for the HTTP client, and then basically this part we just so this code is actually in the middle. I was mess around with something, so that's why it's not exactly, but whatever file you have, just send it to just call my client.search and put that string that you just read it in and put it there, submit over there. This part of the code, don't look at this. Okay, this part of the code I put it here is because I was do some testing. Okay, but one thing you need to do is that the result JSON is either telling you the status fail with the status code, or is actually going to be an array of JSON, a post JSON, that you need to process that result underscore JSON to save each individual post into the file, and that's what post post ID dot JSON file. And after that, you're done with the search. Search is just like doing this for homework, both homework 6 and homework 7. Does that help you, Arne?
Got it.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hi, Professor. Quick question. For small programs, do we only have to do 20 or until we get the all done status?
No, you only need to you only need to do 20.
Okay.
I forgot to count whether you can finish by like a 13. Something's already 20.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Just to be clear, just to be 100% clear. So for homework 7, all we have to do is just create homework 7 client, update, search, and validate.
Sorry, just 1 second. Okay. Homework 7 is the programming part is not really the focus. The part that's really important is for you to use the system and to participate and to obtain the JSON that was that historical record. So homework number 7 is more focusing on the content of the result, not much on the programming. So from the programming side, I mean, you don't have to do anything. In fact, you can manually do everything in homework. You don't, I mean, technically, I'm not suggesting you to do that, but you can potentially do everything without even write a line of code that you can actually get it to work. Okay, of course, you probably have to do at least HW6 search. Yeah, so the programming part, as you said, is very simple. You don't have to do much. But the important thing is you have to use a system to obtain those 10 posts that you're supposed to get. Is that answer your question, Nathaniel?
Yeah, kinda understand.
Okay.
Now.
Yeah, Scott, I just realized I always make this mistake. I'm going to change that to longitude. For some reason, why I'm adding that extra T, I never realized. I'm going to change that to correct spelling. I need to check that correct spelling. And the other thing is that I think it shouldn't affect the program, but I will at my server when I check is I will accept both longitude and the X and with the extra T. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. You told me once. I forgot to fix that. Yeah, if you got all done, you're done. Samir, which part I should repeat? I said a lot. I just saw your message. Okay. If you forgot your avatar name, you can let me know. Okay, I can dig it out for you. So you might need to have manual. You might need to have the from section for the post, because when you submit the post, the one I'm going to do checksum, 2 of the 10 posts, you need to be the from. I mean, your VSID need to appear there and your avatar name.
Okay, because I thought the post ID is in the first part your VSID.
That is true, but that doesn't necessarily to be the case. So I could write a post, which is the from field, is basically my VSID, but I actually can publish somebody else's wall, right? Okay, so for example, I can share a post on Fox News even though I'm not I am the author, but the profile ID will have Fox News profile ID. So that's
Yeah.
why I think front is important. That's right, to get it validated and append correctly. So Melissa, your question, you should use the, there were a few things. Of course, you can do output redirection, or you can use another thing called pipe. Pipe basically connect one program's input to another program's, connect one program's output to another program's input. Just put two, I don't know how do you call that, two straight bar. That's what we call a pipe that you can connect to program.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay.
I don't know if you went over this, but how do we access the server? Or is it not accessible right now?
Right now, I actually, I bring it down because I was in the middle of updating one file. And so that's why right before the office hour, I brought it down. And after the office hour, after I finish that, I will upload and make it available. I mean, the way you access the way you access server, just like the way you access server for homework 1 and homework 2.
Wait, I don't remember that. Do we just put that link into a search or something?
No, you have to write your client program. The client program will contact the server using JSON.
Oh,
yeah.
Then we just run client.
Right. You just run
okay.
client. Yeah.
Professor Wu, I noticed that some of your dumpj functions for history or in transaction were virtual, and I was wondering, is it okay that I got rid of the virtual part when I was implementing it?
Sure, you can do that. Yeah, that's no problem.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there a makefile associated with this assignment to give us the header files and everything?
It will be the same. If I'm going to give you, it will be the same or very similar to the reference implementation for homework 6, because homework 6 search and homework 6 update, they're essentially the same, almost the same as homework 7.
Okay.
So you can use the makefile and the header file there as well.
Okay.
I do provide update a new version of JV time. The Java time, sorry, not Java time, sorry, the JSON value time to the class directory, I think 2 days ago or yesterday, I forgot. Okay, let me actually
Was that
check.
called homework 7 history? Or...
That's the
Oh, wait,
different one.
never mind.
Homework 6 history, that's a different one.
I see it.
Okay. Okay, I think somebody is helping Melissa to transport the file. If you still have problem, let me know. I mean, the way
I got it.
You got it. Okay, great. Okay, you got a lot of help. Okay, that's good. Well, I like that spirit. Well, at least 5 or 6 answer over there. That's good. I think I'm going to host office hour at least Monday. Okay, at least Monday. And Tuesday, I think I will focus on providing all the grading. So Tuesday, I probably prefer not to worry about that. Because after Monday evening, the student need to access to me definitely are those who try to finish their incomplete. After that, in the summer, I will arrange some kind of weekly schedule. So for those students who continue, I mean, by all means, I will always make individual Zoom meeting whenever I'm available, you're available. I'll be happy to talk to you. I mean, even you already complete the course, okay? And if you want to make appointment, just let me know, and then we can find time to discuss about either topic related to ECS 36B or actually something else you would like to talk about. Okay. Okay, so that sounds to me all the question I have right now.
Professor,
Yeah.
I have a question for homework 6. When I'm running the first test case, I get stuck on the update part, like nothing prints out in the client and server. When I do the homework 6 update and JSON input 1, nothing prints out.
Okay, so have you, one of the things I like to check is that, so homework 6, there is an update function, right, on the server side, that when you send the update, so you might want to, let me actually show you a little bit the screen, just very quickly. So you might want to do this. So when you have a function like update, okay, from your server side, you should have something very similar to this one. And I would suggest you start to examine the content that what you receive, whether, for example, the basic one is that you can actually try to print out the JSON that you just received as a string to see if that string actually is the same as your client when you, the HW6 update program, when you actually put it in. If they actually looks the same, then you actually follow the server logic on your side and see where you lost that information. And then the reason you didn't get anything back is because the server must have some part of the processing decide that this is not a function. I mean, my experience is that when you have homework 6, the problem is either at the early stage of your update, or it has to do with your the JSON CPP, the JSON post CPP, where you do JSON to post. That's a problem source, because the JSON to post is a function to convert the JSON to a post. So that process, do you actually get the valid post object from that process? If you cannot get it, then it will not continue. So how do you know you actually get a right post object? So you take that post object, do a post object dump J, and print it on the server side to see if it actually come out correctly. So you actually do this kind of style. You actually know where your information, whether information is input correctly, processing correctly, generated correctly. And then slowly you realize that why it didn't return to your client, okay? So that's a general hint, and try to do that. If you still have the issue, let me know, and we can set up appointment together.
I think it gets stuck from in update.cpp. Like it opens a file, but that file is like empty, so then it just returns -1.
Okay, so if you open the file and it does not even read it in, I think you're kind of stuck at the first step. You haven't even talked to the server yet, right? It's already have problems. So so the simple code I provide, they have a code for both reading the file and convert that file into a JSON value format. So I would say at least you should try to make sure that when you call your client program HW7 update, and see if after you read the file, just print what you just read to see if this is what you expect. And if that's correctly, then basically you create a JSON value object, and then just using toStyle string to actually print that JSON object out to see if you got it correctly. So I think if these two steps are okay, then you can move on. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Which file would I be editing it in?
I forgot. I include some CPP file for the reference implementation for homework assignment number 6. I think you can take a look at some of it. You probably want to use, I think I might have HW6 client.cpp. That will be the program you can use to change.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, let me see.
One more quick question. On Tuesday, when you put in grades and they're like, no, we expect, because like I like resubmitted homework 6. So like, what if you guys didn't see that one yet? Then should I email you guys again on Tuesday?
Let me do it this way, Alexandria. If by Tuesday you didn't get an email back from us about regrading whatever that homework 6, then it might be good for you to send us a reminder to make sure that by maybe Monday evening or something like that, send us that, okay?
Okay, are you guys responding to regrades or like so we know that you guys got the email, or are you just gonna look at it and then like review our code and change your grade and not like?
Okay, I haven't followed through every single email for the past, I don't know, 48 hours or something like that. I haven't actually read through that. But regrade process, as I mentioned, you come to the TA and see if there was some discussion between you and the TA. If that process didn't resolve all your concern, then you bring that to me in email. I will try to answer my email as soon as possible from now on.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Professor, I also had another question. If I get stuck on, like, I still get like problems on specific things, if I email you, will you respond?
Yeah, I will respond, definitely. I prefer when you have this kind of coding issue. I mean, my experience is that you send me the whole package, okay, your source code and your make file, so I can actually help you to try to narrow down the problem as soon as possible, okay?
Okay, but like, I tried emailing you about the problem that I mentioned to you earlier. And
I haven't been able to get to that in the past 48 hours, but I will start.
But it was from like 4 days ago.
Okay, in that case, I'm sorry. I must miss that email. I must miss that email when I got to some other things. I think I tried to read every email, but sometimes just one email I forgot, or I didn't mark correctly. I thought I already read it, and then it already marked as I read it, so I didn't know. I might have missed that. I'm sorry. So in that case, you probably want to send that to me again. Okay.
Okay. So if you don't respond in 48 hours, I should email you again.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if I don't respond, that's usually it's not saying I don't want to respond. I just probably forget, because sometimes I have a lot of email, and I have a few email I didn't read it or didn't handle it correctly, and I apologize when that happened, and that happened quite a bit sometime for my cases. So please, to help me, please remind me if you didn't get answer from me after a reasonable amount of time. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Professor, I have a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I tried to declare a transaction object, the history one, in post.h, but I got an error saying that transaction was not declared in the scope. And I included transaction.h in my post.h file. I'm not sure like what else I could, or what the issue should be.
Jenny, can you send me your code so I can take a look how you declare the post.h?
Yeah.
It's hard for me to figure out just by talking. Okay, I'll take a look at that. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so how do you write your own key, right? You're talking about adding the key to the post. So my suggestion will be don't bother to write the program to insert the key. Just take a look at the post itself and use editor to just add another session and then just add a bunch of key to that. I would just say using any editor to do that. You need, it's not 20 searches, is you need 10 posts with five historical record appends. Yes, you make your own comments and message in your post. Okay. All right, any other question before I close this session so I can try to bring the server back? Oh,
I have
Nathaniel, go ahead.
one last small question, I'm sorry. Are we supposed to change up the make file from homework 6 to fit homework 7? Or
It probably, if you want to use my makefile, the makefile in the reference implementation, you probably need to change some of them. I mean, at least you need to change, for example, HW6 update to HW7 update, or you don't need to compile HW6 server anymore, right? You can change that. And also, if you want to add any new function like HW7 validate, then you need to change your makefile to do that compilation.
Okay.
Yeah, you need to change, but I don't think you need to change a lot.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so I think that's for now. And right now, yeah, somebody want to ask a question?
Can you just repeat the answer you give to Melissa about the 20 searches and 5 appends? Can you repeat what you said about that?
It's 10 posts and 10 posts, and each of them with 5 historical records, 5 or more historical records. It's basically the same I described in the homework 7 specification, except that now 20 dropped to 5.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I'm going to end it. All right. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.